It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
Hello everybody, welcome to PSGL on the PlayStation platform. So for some more fantastic top tier action. This is round number 4 of the championship and we're following the F1 circus once again. And it is a fairly new track to the F1 game. And a circuit yesterday that made its first Grand Prix appearance in 36 years. It is the Zandvoort circuit for the Dutch Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me in the commentary box is Mark Alimonda. Mark, how are you doing?
Very well, Luke, very well. What a start to the season. We've had 3 different winners. I mean, that Belgian race last week was a bona fide classic. And, you know, we've still got a long way to go this season. Very tight in both the drivers and constructors championships. Some drivers not having the starts to the season they would have wanted, with a point to prove tonight at a race where, you know, at least a quarter of the grid is going to be hunting that home race victory.
Yeah, 5 Dutch drivers on the grid tonight, and I think so. Unsurprisingly, wanting to put in a good performance. Last time we went to Zandvoort in the top tier, it was a Dutch 1-2-3, so there's definitely something about that home performance, the Max Mania, I think we could say, rather than the Mansell Mania around the Zandvoort circuit. Last time out, though, at the Belgian Grand Prix, it was a reserve who took the victory. 3rd different winner of the season, and it was VSR Jordan who took the victory, driving for Alpine last week. He's in an Alfa Romeo this week, replacing Shizu Oggiano. And you might remember we said that Joost would be leading the championship. However, there was a steward's inquiry. Blizzard got a 3-second penalty in the race. You might remember that dropped him from 3rd to 6th. It turned out one of those warnings was given rather harshly by the game as he was having his incident through Eau Rouge. He got that penalty removed, and what that means is he is now 5 points ahead in the championship from Joost. Viotti Georges, who picked up his 2nd podium last time out, is on 22 points. Jordan getting up there, up into 4th place on 16th. Jack Eater showing that consistency can help as well. He is 5th on 13 points. And as we have a look then at the Constructors' Championship at the moment, it is Red Bull who are on the top with 31 points. AlphaTauri 30, Alfa Romeo 28 points. 5 teams separated by 10 points. Only Alpine yet to score. And despite Blizzard's qualifying dominance, that at the moment 56% of you think he will carry that on tonight. On the poll we have on the top of the chart, despite that qualifying dominance, it has only translated to 1 race victory.
Yes, I mean, you know, I don't think Blizzard can be blamed for what happened to France. The strategy just went completely against the top 10 with the rain coming as late in the race as it did. But, you know, he will feel very strongly the championship leader that victory at Belgium slipped away. It was an unforced error at Eau Rouge. Very easy to do, of course. And he did well to avoid damage and recover what, in the end, was P3. So, you know, I think he won't be too disappointed. But, you know, those 6 points, they could make a difference at the end of the season that he lost.
Yes, certainly. And we were saying before the stream how Bahrain and France, pretty straightforward races, not too many retirements as you would expect in the top tier. The Belgian Grand Prix, 6 different retirements, was a pretty crazy race, to be perfectly honest. I'm sure the drivers will be hoping for more normality tonight around a circuit which is definitely a lot tougher to overtake than what we saw last time around.
Yes, I mean, I like to call this track Hungary on steroids because, you know, it's got so many fast corners, but it is also a very narrow track. So qualifying is going to be absolutely vital here because, you know, if you get stuck in the middle of the pack, it's going to be very difficult to make any progress.
Yeah, certainly. Drivers are going to have to want to obviously get as good of a qualifying session as possible. And talking about qualifying, that is just about underway now. First few cars heading out onto the circuit about what is a very overcast looking Zandvoort. I don't think there'll be too many drivers heading to the beach if things keep looking like that. It's due to be an overcast race as well. No massive threat of rain. Starts to get a bit more towards the 60-minute mark, unless we get a load of safety cars though. That isn't something we're going to see. A lot of drivers going out on the medium tyres. I imagine this is just to get a feel for what those tyres are like more than everything and make sure their setups, their equipment is working properly.
Yes, I mean the medium tyres going to be heavily used during this race, especially particularly those in the top 10 will be looking to, you know, stretch the softs as far as possible and then take the mediums all the way to the end. You know, in terms of tyre wear, it's a little bit more severe than it was at Belgium, but you know, one stop should still carry the day here today, particularly for these top tier drivers. So, you know, top 10 they'll start on the softs and then they'll try and go, you know, slightly beyond lap 10, then come in put on the mediums. And they'll have to manage the tyres a little bit towards the end of the race, but they should be, you know, fairly comfortable unless they have a setup which really increases the tyre wear too much for themselves. But, you know, Luke, we shouldn't really be seeing anyone too stopping because track position is key here. It is absolutely king, and you have to, you know, try and balance track position far more against any tyre wear worries.
Yes, most certainly. But for now, let's get on board with qualifying. Duncan took the win here last time out, and he heads into turn one. That slightly banked first corner, sticking to the inside. Now coming into this section where we saw plenty of side-by-side action yesterday through two and turn number 3. Drivers in F1 taking the high line yesterday in real life. We normally see the low line a lot more here in PSGL and in league racing. Now coming through this fast sweeping section of 4, 5, 6. This is where the circuit deviates from the original last used in 1985 as we now come through the first sector timing point and into turn number 8, turn 9. This is where the right-hand tyres really start to take a bit of a hammering around this circuit. Now into turn 10. It is crucial to get a fantastic run out of this corner. This is the second DRS. Say straight, it is a slight curve, but it is easily flat out in a modern Formula 1 car. Now we come into this stadium section at turn 11 and 12. You can get away with taking a lot of curb at 11. Be careful that you don't run into that gravel on the exit of turn number 12. Now the two right-handers to finish the lap of 13 and 14. An extremely harsh banking here that a few thought the Pirelli tyres might not be able to cope with. And Duncan sticks to that low line coming off of that banking. And his first run in qualifying, 108.747. An extremely impressive first run indeed. That's just over a tenth of what got pole position in F2. So as a banker lap, looks like Duncan's definitely found it very useful.
Yes, a very promising time early on from the driver who won this race last in season 28. Just as a reference, Luke, the pole time here a season ago was a 107.770 from Juiced. So they're a little bit further away. We're thinking that they may be slightly slower than that in the end, but early days.
Yeah, certainly. I think any time around 108.4, 108.3 is going to put you in very good stead. Indeed, we're on board with M. Short, Alpine, the only team yet to score any points so far this season from himself and Leo. Of course, Jordan's win didn't count for them. That is a very good lap from M. Short, puts him in third place, just behind Jordan, who has now gone into second position. We'll see who else we've got on the lap at the moment. Looks like his teammates coming up towards the finish line. VRT Leo, he is of course leaving the VRT team. He now goes into 14th position. Fastest man on the medium tyres is Joost on that 109.195. So a very decent lap on that set of the mediums. Blizzard down in 9th place. Not somewhere we're used to seeing him in qualifying so far this season.
Yes, just looking at his times in comparison to some of the others, yeah, seems to be sector 3 that he dropped quite a bit of time, so may have made a mistake there. But you know, I don't think he'll be too concerned because it is just a bank. It is all about just getting a time on the board, and as we're not having changeable conditions in terms of the weather, it's not. As long as he sort of performs a little bit better from the round to late, it won't be a problem. As Benjamin puts it up to 108.709. I believe we've got all of our reserves out there this evening.
Yeah, we have got all of our reserves out there. Benjamin in the Ferrari, he's replacing Dan Urco. We've already mentioned that Jordan is replacing Shizu Ogiano, and we've also got Fede in the Aston Martin replacing Christmas, who has the unenviable record at the moment of being the only driver who had taken part in the first 3 races in every single one of them and yet to score any points. So a bit of a shame for him. CRG Gamer, he looks like he's on a slightly different strategy to some of the other guys. 24-1 through the first sector, 23-8 through the middle sector. So this is looking pretty good. Could put him up there around where the two Alpines are at this moment in time, depending on what he can do in that final sector, as Leo's actually got up to 4th place on a second lap on those tyres. Benjamin's best time able to set his on a second lap as well. As Gamer heads towards the finish line, in the end loses a bit of time in that final sector, goes into 8th position. We talked about the drivers that have, well, the one driver that has yet to score any points despite taking part in all 3 races, and that was Christmas. Only 2 drivers have scored points in every race so far, and that is Blizzard and the man who's on his outlap on your screen at the moment, VSR Xander. Pretty decent start to the season for the reigning F2 champion.
Yeah, I mean, he's settling in quite nicely into his top tier. We know that there's going to be more to come from him in the future. Maybe not this season, but certainly one to look out for season 30 by the looks of it. And Casper went purple in Sector 1. Let's see what he does. And into P6 he goes. So a very nice banker lap from Casper there. Move up to P6. I think we should talk about George's. You know, there was a lot of expectations on him going into this season. And yeah, he had a bit of a disaster at France, but so far a very good start to the campaign for him with that podium at Bahrain in P3, and an even better at Belgium, where he came nail-bitingly close to winning the race, but unfortunately was just sort of, you know, had little to defend with on that final lap from Jordan.
Yeah, certainly. We have seen George's put in some good performances so far. He's got some support in the chat as well. Will OG, who managed to pick up another point last time around, so keeps picking up those odd points positions so far this season. We'll see what he can do around this long final corner. Banked, of course, to try and negate the effects of the dirty air, to try and make overtaking at least somewhat possible into that first corner. And Will goes up into 8th position, 108.899. Just look how close things are at this moment in time. Mish is there, 108.939, less than a quarter of a second off a pole position. He's not even in the top 10.
I know it's been a very tight qualifying session so far, but it is the nature of this track, as Xander actually goes purple in Sector 2 momentarily. So he's on a good lap, Xander, at the moment, into the final 10-minute session as Juice puts the bar down that little bit higher, the 10th faster than Benjamin's time. So Juice going very nicely, hits home race course, and Xander getting a nice little slipstream from a slow-moving Ferrari. That allows him to go up to P8. So 2 very good laps from the Red Bull drivers respectively there.
Yeah, certainly. Jack Eater getting his first lap on the board. Only good enough, though, for 14th place. So Red Bull, current leaders of the Constructors' Championship. Still a long way to go, of course. Looking very handy indeed. We're on board with Mish then in the Aston Martin. He was another driver who managed to get a 3-second penalty removed last time around. Bumped him up ahead of Will LG into that 9th position. Then got all of Aston Martin's points so far this season. Only 12 thousandths up through the first sector. We'll see what he can do now as he heads into the chicane of 11 and 12. I think he's backed off of this lap. He is a second down, so we won't be seeing any massive improvements from him. Let's go on board then with VSR Duncan. He's another driver who seems to be taking it a bit easier on this lap. Maybe they're just not feeling it straight away, and you can just see the traffic issues that Sebastian Vettel had as well. They're going to be a problem here. It is the shortest permanent track on the calendar. Getting free air, absolutely crucial.
Yeah, it's very tricky. I mean, Austria is probably only, in terms of lap times, it's one of the few tracks which has a shorter lap time than this one, and that's problematic for track. But they all gather after, you know, turn 13, preparing for the final banked corner. Should be less of a problem here, because I think the drivers in F1 you would hope would have a little bit more awareness than the Haas drivers showed the other day. But yeah, Midnight Owl on our lap at the moment. He's 9/10 off. Obviously took it quite easy on his first flying lap, but this is going to be an important lap for him though, because he really wants to get a good lap time in Midnight, so it's not to leave him under too much pressure, because at this particular track, because of its length, easy to get free runs in.
Yeah, certainly, and I think we'll be seeing that drivers as well, maybe even tempting a 4th one if they've done that first one on a set of the medium tyres. Midnight's just about to go onto his flying lap. We'll see if we've got anyone towards the end of a lap at this moment in time. Duncan's coming through sector number 2 now. He's nearly 2/10 up, clouts that curb at turn number 11 there into 12, so that could cost him a tiny bit of time, but this is looking like it'll definitely challenge Yost, and it was Duncan who beat Yost last time around when the two were teammates, of course, last season. So not teammates this season, no love lost maybe. Who wants to win this race, and that is Duncan. 108.526 goes up into provisional pole position. Benjamin was improving ever so slightly, decides, oh, that is a big shot. Benjamin flying into the pit lane. I think he's crashed it into the back of one of the Alpines, as we've also lost Isma coming through turn number 8. It's been a very lively 30 seconds.
It certainly has, yeah. Yeah, Isma just got himself in a bit of bother, and that was game over. It was an unusual place to see him crash out in sector 2 like that, and yeah, Benjamin out, and that's a real shame for Benjamin because he was growing very nicely in this qualifying session, but now with the track evolution the way it is, he's going to more than likely drop down from that current P3.
Yes, certainly, and I don't think it's the first time we've seen drivers do that. Midnight goes up into 9th place. I just wonder whichever Alpine got that massive hit must surely have some damage on the back of the car, because that is obviously a thing on this game. So that is going to make things maybe a bit tricky for the rest of this qualifying session. Midnight's gone up into that 9th position. His teammate, therefore, is currently in last, and he's backed off on this lap, going for that second run that we've seen so many of the others doing. Casper, he has a big moment coming through turn number 8. This middle sector proving to be quite tricky at this moment in time, and it is quite a difficult part of the track. The front left tyre takes an absolute hammering through those corners, and as we saw Latifi do, you want to take as wide a line as possible, but if you put a bit of the car on the grass, you're going to send the car spinning around. Casper, luckily for him, was able to save the car, but he's down in 12th place at the moment. His teammate, though, fastest of everyone on a 108.5, as Yost will see if he can find any time. He's 100th down through sector 1.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on Blizzard at the moment. Nice tight apex through 3, and then this amazing sequence of corners coming up flat out all the way down to turn 8. If we slam on the brakes, or at least go off the throttle to get the car slowed down. And Blizzard looking quite strong so far. He's up on his personal best, not purple, so far in this particular lap. But then heading through, it's very awkward parts of the track is through sector 2. Let's see what Blizzard can do. He's currently P20. That's not where he wants to be. And he's now, oh look at that, 2/10 up on his personal best in sector. Oh, and a massive slide and into the barrier. Blizzard goes, and I think he got away without damage, but wow, this is a real struggle for Blizzard. But he was 2/10 up on his personal best in sector 2 alone, and purple there, but he has ruined his lap completely, and he's only going to have one more run to get this right.
Yeah, certainly he is coming into the pits, so wouldn't be surprised if he did pick up a minor bit of damage. We went away to see Xander's lap. He was fastest of anyone in the first sector, managed to translate that in the end to a 3rd position, so Red Bull looking very good. Once again, most of the cars now in the pit lane or heading back towards the pit. We've got Fede, I think he's backing off on this lap. He's only a 10th down on his personal best, but I imagine he'll be coming into the pits, reserving in that Aston Martin, reserving for the 2nd time this season. He managed 15th in France in the Alpine, and I think he'll be pretty glad that it is going to be dry conditions. The Dutch looking good again. Duncan and Yost 1-2, same as they got last year, except this time around it is Xander in 3rd place. You've got Benjamin 4th, George's in 5th, Willow G putting in a good lap in 6th, M Short 7th, Fusilo 8th, Jordan last week's winner in 9th, and Leo rounding out the top 10. Suso, only person out on track on the moment on a hot lap.
Yeah, well, in a way, kind of a good time to go out there for Suso, so we might as well keep an eye on him as they fly through lovely section of corners. Oh, and I say that. Oh dear, I apologise. That's a big curse. He just spun it around. He was going so well as well. He was up on his personal best in by quite a margin in sector 1, but that has ruined his lap completely. He should have enough time to get back to the pits, just about to get another run out, unless he's got the fuel to go again. But yeah, that was a nice pirouette, but avoided the barriers, so no major damage done to the car.
Yeah, quite stylish. Not exactly what he'd have been wanting to do, of course, making a bit of a mess of the gravel track around here. Leo, another driver on a hot lap. You're seeing the yellow flags popping up. All the cars just getting out of the way at this moment in time. And Leo, a 10th up in the 1st sector on his personal best. We'll see what he can do through the second part of the circuit. And another car getting a bit loose and wild through turn number 8. That time it was hitting the inside of the curb too hard, and did a very good job on managing to drift it around. They're finding it quite tricky around here in qualifying.
Yeah, I wonder if the overcast conditions are kind of affecting the tyre temps, making it a little bit more difficult to get into that window. Because yeah, we're seeing a few more slides than we expected. But you know, track evolution seems to be not quite as much as I expected it to be. Because Duncan's benchmark has been that for some time now. But final runs now, I think, yeah, Blizzard's the one to look out for. He's had a pretty wretched qualifying so far. You know, obviously P20. I mean, that's nowhere near where you'd expect him to be the championship leader, and that could You know, a track like this, Luke, if he ends up starting there, it's going to be a long afternoon for him.
Yes, let's not forget, pole position in the first 3 races. Dominant pole last time out at Belgium. Obviously a much longer track than this, but we thought we'd be seeing him, even if he wasn't the fastest, you'd expect him to be somewhere near the top of the standings. Suso came back into the pits with 2 minutes remaining. No real changes in the time since we last went through them. We have got a few more starting to come on a hot lap, and Leo is even faster than he was last time around in the first sector, so we'll see if he can keep it nice and clean through 7 and 8 on this occasion, deciding to take a lot less curb, perhaps once bitten, twice shy through that part of the circuit. Nice and tidy as he comes through turn number 9 now. The Alpine driver, a reminder, they're the only team not to score any points, and they've got both their cars in the top 10 in this qualifying session so far. See if he finds any more time through sector 2, a tiny improvement on his personal best through there. 1.5 tenths up though. If he carries this on, this might be good enough to challenge where Xander is in 3rd position at the moment. He's going to have to go some to challenge for the front row of the grid though, round the final couple of corners now. In the Alpine, very likely to be his last lap in qualifying as he heads towards the pit lane. In the end, Leo deciding, I'd rather be outside the top 10 maybe than in the lower part of the top 10.
Yeah, that seems to be the way. Duncan has aborted a run. He's going to go just recharge the battery and go again. So both Red Bulls on a run at the moment. Juice has gone purple in sector 1. So he's having a very nice run of it so far. And his teammate Xander is having like his best qualifying session of the season so far. But Will LG, look at that, up to P3 with a purple final sector. So that is a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, certainly. And we've just seen Midnight. He's had a purple, I think in one of the sectors. He was purple in the middle sector actually, and he's now gone up into 4th place. Yost, fastest of anyone in the 2nd sector, but Blizzard has beat his sector 1 benchmark, so it's going to be very close towards the end of this session. Can Yost displace his fellow BSR man, his fellow Dutchman, as he heads across the line in the Red Bull? 108.493. First man to get into the 108. And he takes pole position for now. Blizzard, though, he's purple in sector 1. He's purple in sector 2. He's left it really late, has the AlphaTauri. He sticks higher. And in the end, he's backed off in the final sector. It looks like he's clearly not happy with that lap, and he's going to go again. He's just teasing us.
Yeah, well, he absolutely clattered the curbs over 11-12 and ruined that lap, so he backed off and he left it to the last possible second to go again. So Blizzard will likely be the very last driver to cross the line, because literally the checker flag came out a couple of seconds after he crossed the line. So Blizzard's the one to keep an eye out for sure. Let's just see what he does as he heads through the end of sector 1. It doesn't look like, yeah, he's not purple in sector 1, so may be wise to keep an eye on some other drivers. Suso is out there on a pretty decent lap at the moment, and I say that he's just lost a load of time. I'm not having a good day for cursing people today, am I? Blizzard does a much better job heading through 11-12 this time. He's certainly setting personal best. I'm not sure how close this is going to be for pole. Not purple in either sector 1 or sector 2, but that won't matter if he's got a fast sector 3 as well. Oh, he's heading for the line now. What's it going to be for Blizzard? Over the line he goes. And yeah, P16. I think he may have backed off in the end to go for the alternate strategy. Just didn't seem to have the confidence in the car to really challenge those in the top 10. So he's going to try something different.
Yeah, certainly. There was a tiny lift across the line there, but given how close things are at this moment in time on that grid, that slight little lift, obviously he'd have been going for 11th place. In the end, he is 16th, but it is Yost who's going to be on pole position. Duncan in 2nd. Will LG take a bow in 3rd place. Midnight up there once again in 4th. Xander with his best qualifying of the season so far. And looking how close the grid. I think we've got 17, 18 cars separated by half a second. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic race, and I cannot wait take all you guys through it as we see the qualifying then. An all Dutch front row of the grid last season here. Duncan took the victory and Yost finished 2nd, the other way round on the front row. Will is in 3rd. Another good qualifying for Midnight. Can he convert that into his best result of the season? Only 1 point so far. He is 4th on the grid. Xander 5th. Benjamin, after that rather interesting incident in the pit lane, he is in 6th place. Fusilo is 7th. M Short 8th. George is 9th. Jaquita is 10th. Casper has the alternate strategy pole position in 11th place. Jordan is 12th. Leo and Asakomi, an all-Italian 7th row of the grid. Fede makes it 3 in a row in 15th. Blizzard is 16th. Mish 17th. Gamer is 18th. Suso 19th. And Isma, the final driver, another one to retire in that qualifying session. Very close indeed. Interesting to see Blizzard there go for that alternate strategy. He clearly thinks it's going to work around here, even though overtaking, as we've already said, is at a premium.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at a lot of his laps. He seemed to be struggling with sort of central balance on the car, because every time he was attacking those curbs, the car just wasn't liking it at all. He had, 2 runs in a row where, after 11 and 12, it just unbalanced the car, and that just wrecked his lap. And I think in the final one, he knew he wasn't quick enough to challenge for those top positions. So he thought, okay, let's try something different outside top 10. Casper in P11, definitely one to look out for. He does like an alternate strategy. So he's definitely the one, personally for me, I'm going to keep an eye on outside the top 10. But yeah, I mean, 2 Dutch drivers on the front row here, I'm not surprised. I think, I think we mentioned it in the interviews last week that the Dutch drivers would be practicing just a little bit more for this one.
Yeah, certainly. Everyone obviously wants to win their home race. You're seeing a bit of information just come up around there. 36 laps, of course, the most laps we're going to have at any race this season. So they'll be nipping around pretty fast. Traffic shouldn't be an issue in this, obviously, with ghosting, and it'll be interesting to see how everyone does around the Zandvoort circuit. Made its debut yesterday for the first time in 36 years, a lot shorter than it was in those days at 4.259 kilometres, 14 corners and 2 DRS zones, and it is that DRS zone into turn 1 where we will see the majority of the action. What tyres will we see everyone go on for, I hear you ask? Well, there we go, a bit of a mixture. Outside the top 10, the majority have gone for the mediums. Assecomb's gone for the hard tyres, and Fede, he clearly wants to get some moves done in the first part of the race. He's on the softs.
Yeah, Assecomb's choice in the hards, that's very interesting. He's perhaps anticipating some safety cars in the middle of the race, but he's going to be struggling for traction off the line, and with the likes of Blizzards and Gamer not far, he might lose quite a few positions at the start there. But yeah, I think the battle between, Juice and Duncan, that's going to be the one to watch right at the front. Red Bull versus Mercedes on the front row, that's quite fitting given the current championship battle we're having. But yeah, Juice is on the left-hand side, that's where pole position, that's the racing line. So in real life, you do get a bit more traction there. I'm not sure what effect that has on the game. But yeah, Duncan's going to have to get a really good start, realistically, to have any chance of overtaking in that tight turn 1.
Yeah, Juice just trying to light up the rears there, coming through turn number 12, almost ended up spinning the car. That could have caused a few problems. Everyone here debating what consoles PSGL might move to. I'd say Nintendo 64 is a pretty solid shout. That'd be a good one to see. Never mind the Ataris and all the Game Boy Advance that everyone is going on for. But let's pay attention to the PlayStation. For now, Used on pole position. Duncan in second. Will and Midnight perhaps. Well, judging by the season names that we wouldn't perhaps expect to see up there. But Midnight, this is a big opportunity for him. We said at the start of the season, a few people thought, judging by how he finished last year, he'd be one to watch. He really could do with a good performance now. Only 1 point in the first 3 races.
Yeah, I think we talked about it before the race. This is a race he really needs a big result in, and same for Duncan actually. Otherwise, they will find themselves as we head towards the halfway stage, falling behind the championship leaders.
Yeah, certainly. They've got a good opportunity tonight to sort of kickstart their season as we are waiting for the lights to come on here then. At Zandvoort, we have got 5 lights. And we're underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Nightmare start for Jack Eater. He has jumped the start. Jordan making a move. We've seen a few cars go battling in the background, but it's all nice and clean between the top 3. Xander trying to go all the way around the outside of Midnight on the first corner, and in the end, he's not able to do so. And now you've got Midnight and Will OG going side by side, coming up towards turn number 3. But it is Joost, Duncan, Will, just, I think, from Midnight, able to get that traction. Xander, Fusilo, I saw a car there almost spinning off. I think they were just managed to collect all that on the traction. All sorts of battling happening. Everyone cleanly through the first part of the track, though, apart from Jack Eater with that slight penalty. Wells ran slightly wide, and that's allowed Midnight to dive one up the inside. He's up into 3rd place as Leo facing the wrong way. There's not sure if that's a marker board or whatever there, or quite a bit of debris as Assecombs managed to get his way back into the session. Blizzard battling as he tries to go round the outside of Isma. He's lost the position on lap 1 of the race. No change between the front 2 though. It is still Used with Duncan. Midnight though has got ahead of Will LG, and all that battling that we saw for 3rd place, Mark, has made a big difference with the timing. Midnight already a second behind the Mercedes.
Yeah, but he's got ahead of Will LG crucially, so if he can just get the hammer down, he might have to use up some ERS to catch up to the front 2. He's only just over a second ahead of them. As something's happened. Juice is Juice disconnected. Something's happened. His car's all gone ghosted.
thankfully, he still looks okay on my screen. He seems to be going at a decent pace, so we'll have to wait and see what has happened there. Jordan's had to come into the pits. He got a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. He'll have to serve that in his pit stop and change a front wing, so any chance of him getting 2 race victories in a row absolutely gone out of the window right now for him. Midnight's trying to close up to the back of all these drivers. I think Jordan, in the end, was the only person to come into the pits on that first lap of the race. Yes, he was. He's going to have a tough time of it on the hard tyres, right down at the back of the field as the leaders nearly approaching the end of the second sector now, and it is still used from Duncan, Midnight, and Will LG. Casper still leading those on the medium tyres. He finished third here, let's not forget, last season, so he must fancy his chances of getting a pretty good result.
Yeah, Casper has kept himself out of trouble, which is the crucial thing to do when you're doing the alternate strategy. And of course, Chiquita is going to have to come in for that drive-through penalty. He may have already served it, actually. I'm not entirely sure. It's a short pit lane here, of course, so it's a bit less painful to get a drive-through, but nonetheless, it's still not time you want to lose like that for such a stilly, unforced error.
Yeah, certainly. Definitely doesn't have that penalty alongside his screen, so even though the game doesn't say he has been into the pits, he has served that drive-through penalty. Jordan obviously won't be able to get that penalty removed as he has served it. Be interested to see what happened to him. Wouldn't surprise me if he had to take evasive action at perhaps turns 11 and 12. Quite easy, I imagine, to cut that corner. Midnight, fastest lap of the race last time around, as he tries to get back within a second of Duncan, who's putting Joost under all sorts of pressure at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, Juice and Duncan pretty evenly matched in the sectors, but yeah, Duncan able to follow in the dirty air, the Red Bull ahead, and that's quite crucial for him. It's going to be hurting his front tyres a little bit following this closely, so he'll be wanting to get the move done pretty soon if he can. Get a nice helicopter shot as they head past that amazing looking stadium section, which is very Mexico-like, the way the crowd's almost on top of the cars like that, through that final banked corner, very IndyCar-like almost, where the corner's banked like that. Duncan, yeah, both good exits. It's getting closer and closer, but he hasn't got full ERS attack on, so yeah, it's just opting to stay within it. But Midnight's actually been able, with the fast lap again, to get within a second of them. But you know, fair play to Will LG and the rest behind. It's quite a long DRS train as Blizzard attacks Suso, and I think it's going to try and get switched one side. It's going to have to go around the outside of Prix, trying to get up to 12, and Suso, fair play to him, placing the car nicely and denies Blizzard the opportunity. The Blizzard's going to have to chase him down that roller coaster-like section in Sector 1.
Yeah, and he's going to be forced the long way round at turn number 7, and I don't think that's going to quite work. Can he get the cutback, though, onto the exit of 7 and perhaps go down the inside into 8? Not quite close enough. Suso and Gamer, best starts of anyone in this race. Both of them up 7 positions. Ismir also up 6. Biggest losers on that first lap of the race. Jordan and Chiquita, both of them going down 7 places, having had to pit, I should say, on that first lap of the race. If we go back to the leaders, Duncan has got about 15% less ERS than used. It was about 25-30% last time around, so I think he has maybe saved a bit, realising that he was perhaps using a bit too much of his electrical energy. He's going to need some of that spare later on, but Midnight, again, doing a fantastic job being able to close up to the back of these drivers. 111.6 last time around for him, 111.7 for both of the leaders, and a 111.5 for Will and Xander. They're just about broken the DRS back to Benjamin behind.
Yeah, of course, Benjamin, the highest reserve at the moment in a very solid P6. I mean, who knows, without crashing qualifying, he may have been able to qualify a little bit higher than that. Obviously showing really good pace here today. Shortly behind him, that's Fusilo, M Short, and Georges trying to get ahead. But yeah, they're kind of stuck at the moment. It's kind of a 2 DRS trains. It's the top 5 and then the other half of the top 10. And yeah, Casper just keeping a watching brief at the moment, kind of having to wait for the softs to degrade away before they can make any moves, really. But Gamer's made some really good progress so far in this particular race. He's gained 7 places from the start, and Suso as well. But yeah, I mean, Gamer, the big winner in terms of places gained so far in the Williams.
Yes, certainly, and let's not forget, it was the alternate strategy that he made work in Bahrain. Nearly got the win in the end, just ran out of grip and ended up finishing in 2nd place. It is currently the 2nd car on that set of the medium tyres. There's not a lot of overtaking happening at this moment in time, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I think this is sort of what we expected from the Dutch Grand Prix, unfortunately. A very difficult track to overtake on, of course. When the pit stops start happening, then we might start seeing some mixtures of strategy, as Asacombe does say he's in 20th there. I believe he has still actually got a few cars behind him. I think he might be in 16th position as I try to look at the map at the moment. You can just see that red dot coming through turn number 3 now. So hopefully that will sort itself out, but he has been having a few connection issues throughout the day. George's, he's all over the back of M. Shaw and Fusillo, but if the car in front of you has got DRS, it is nigh on impossible around this circuit to make an overtake unless the car makes a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, that's been sort of the feature of all the races we've seen so far in PSGL at this particular track. And, of course, in real life, even in the junior formulas, like Formula 3, often it's mistakes that are made. Starting at 11 and 12, you know, clattering that a little bit too much, unbalancing the car, then it kind of knocks you out of your rhythm. Then you get a slightly poorer line out of the final corner, and that's where the opportunities to overtake come. But they're all driving very smoothly through this final section. That's giving them little opportunity as Fusillo decides to come in for quite an early pit stop. Lap 6.
Sorry to interrupt. Isma's had a big moment coming out of the final corner. That has brought out a safety car, and that might force a few more people to come into the pits. Jack Eater is going to come in as well. Assacomb's into the pits, getting rid of the hard tyres. So we've had a safety car here. He has lost that in a very strange position. It was pretty much almost onto the straight part.
Well, one of the characteristics of that final corner is actually you want to go high on the corner, because if you go quite narrow on it, you can actually unbalance the car a little bit as you go over the bump onto the start-finish straight. So I wonder if he took a slightly narrow line and then just lost it as the car straightened out. But yeah, that's an unfortunate incident. Yeah, a safety car, quite an early one as well. It's going to be interesting to see what Juice and Duncan decide to do. Will Hard to make it to the end from here? Well, it'd be quite finely balanced. I mean, the mediums do about 20 laps, so I don't know. I think the Hards will definitely do at least 25, but yeah, you'd have to manage them a little bit. So I get the sense that the leaders may not pit. They might stay out a little bit longer just to stretch it out to an easier one-stop, but we're about to find out.
Yeah, there we go.
Here they come.
Yost is coming into the pits. Duncan following him in as well. Will any of these lead drivers try something different? Maybe Xander will stay out, although he has got quite a bit of a gap to his teammates. So, no, they're all coming into the pits by the looks of things. No one going for anything different from the soft tyres, and they're all going for a set of mediums. So either they've got supreme confidence in these getting towards the end of the race, or we're going to see some fantastic driving and some two-stop strategies. Casper and Gamer staying out there on their set of mediums. A 5-second penalty for Fede for a severe collision with Assacombe. He will be able to serve that in the pits under the safety car if he wants to, as I think Assacombe's coming into the pits and maybe thinking about putting on the set of the medium tyres as well. We've got another safety car here in PSGL. We had plenty of them last time around. It's now Casper leading from Gamer. They haven't come into the pits, the only drivers yet to do so, and Yost leading on the mediums out of those that have pitted. We said it was going to be a big ask for the hard tyres, 29 laps for a set of mediums, even though some of them under the safety car. This is going to be tricky.
I mean, such an early safety car, I just don't know how far these mediums are going to go. I mean, you know, if they get them to the get to the end, then that would be extraordinary. I think you're right though. I think Assacombe has desynced somewhat, because it says he's on lap 4, but there's no way he's 4 laps down on the field. So yeah, that's pretty extraordinary. But yeah, Casper and Gamer choosing not to pit, and they're on the mediums, of course. The drivers behind will be on fresh mediums. What's Blizzard actually decided to do? Did he go for the hards? He has actually.
Yeah, well, Blizzard obviously started on a set of the medium tyres, so his options were either come into the pits for a set of hards or another set, and then come back in for a fresh set of mediums. We'll see if any of those that started on the mediums do that now, because they will have done their 1 lap on a different type of tyre. We'll see if we see anyone diving into the pits, and yeah, there we go. That is exactly what Blizzard is doing, and Leo following him as well. They have to use 2 different types of tyres. They want to be on the mediums, so they're going to ditch these hards after only 1 lap and go on to another set of the medium tyres. Looking at Gamer's tyre wear, it was on about 22% for the entire of last lap. It's still showing that now, of course, under the safety car. So 7 laps, 22% plus a formation lap on heavy fuel. They've got to do about 28, 29 laps on the mediums. We might be in a situation where you could get a puncture, you could not. It's just going to be a luck of the draw, I feel.
Yes, I mean, you know, it's the same is true of this game. As soon as your tyre wear goes beyond 75%, particularly on the rears. You're in the lap of the gods, really, when they're going to, blow up. And, I've seen some extraordinary situations where some drivers have got to the end on 98% tyre wear, and then other races where they've literally gone on 76% and they've blown up straight away. So you just don't know. It can just happen at any time after that. But one thing is certain, if the likes of Juice and Duncan can't get to the end, then that's going to really throw the race in favour of some of the other drivers who have chosen to stop onto the hards. I mean, Xander, for example, I think Xander is going to be a key barometer of how the strategies are going to go. Because if the mediums don't get to the end, if the mediums only get to, say, I don't know, lap 20, 28, 29, and they have to stop then for softs because they just simply have nothing left, then Xander could be in the box seat for his first win.
Yes, certainly. He could be looking very good indeed. We'll have to see how he does on those hards. Staying in contact with those in front could be crucial, but it is, of course, a very short track. We've got that late call that the safety car was coming into the pit. So when is Casper going to drop the throttle on his Mercedes? There's your answer. He's gone for it now, and he seems to have just about got away with it. We are back underway once again. Yost all over the back of CRG Gamer. Not able to do anything as we come onto lap 10 of the race. Hopefully 27 racing laps still to go. You've got Benjamin and M Short battling in the background. Benjamin obviously on a set of the mediums, M Short on the hards. A few moves further down as Suso and Mish trying to battle now. Suso holding on to that position. I think Leo's almost gone into the back of Fede as well. The medium.
Oh no. Oh yeah, Fede's been pushed round. Yeah, I mean, Leo just sort of into turn 3 just charged in, and then there was a bit of bumpy bump, and then suddenly Fede was round and his wings damaged, but no safety car because he was able to keep the car going.
Yeah, I was about to say the middle of the pack seems to be where all the action is happening. Unfortunately for Fede, there was a bit too much action there. Blizzard now all over the back of Jack Eater, trying to make some moves done on these medium tyres. He'll be hoping that he can take it towards the end of the race, as well the majority of the field. He has got that slightly fresher than everyone else, of course. And I think Mish has had a slight mistake at that part of the circuit. Jordan now battling with Mish side by side as we come into turn number 13. The Alfa Romeo gets that position done. He's up into 13th. Can Jordan salvage some points from this race? But the end of that first lap under the safety car, it's still Casper in the lead of this race as here comes Georges on Xander, using that tyre advantage down the inside into turn number 1. The Alfa Romeo driver takes 8th position.
Yeah, Leo trying to squeeze himself around the outside of Mitchie on those mediums up against the hards of Mitchie, and he was able to get the move done. So Mitchie making moves. Blizzard now trying to get around the outside of Jack Eater in the outside turn 3, but not able to get the move done. Jack Eater getting the racing line. So yeah, Blizzard's kind of stuck at the moment, but he's going to have fresher tyres on the mediums. So yeah, Blizzard I think certainly trying to aim to get to the end, but the trouble is he's going to lose so much time battling these midfield cars. He may be in a vulnerable position later on if there indeed are any drivers pitting later on. I think it's going to be interesting really how far Casper and Gamer go, Luke, because speaking of which though, Juice alongside Gamer towards the end of sector 2. Oh, down 11 and 2. Side by side there, doesn't often end well, gets squeezed wide, but Gamer just about leaves enough room. There's slight wheel banging, but Juice up into P2.
Yeah, very fair racing from the pair of them then. Two of the wise heads here in PSGL. Yost up to P2, lost a bit of time in all of that. We saw Blizzard try a fantastic move down the inside of Jack Eater. Didn't quite work out for him. DRS is now enabled. We've got pretty much the entire field in a DRS train as Benjamin down the inside of Xander. He's the one who's dropped out on those hard tyres. And that is now Benjamin up into 9th position. Can he get himself onto the front of that lead train as well? Suso all over the back of Jordan in the Alfa Romeo, another driver on that set of hards, and this is where it's going to get difficult now. DRS has been enabled, so overtaking is going to become even more harder than it was earlier on, unless your name is used, because you're going to have the DRS on the back of Casper, who looks like he might be the only person in the field, barring Fede, not to have it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think the next battle to focus on really will be between Gamer and Duncan. Duncan knows he's got to try and match what Juice did, get ahead of Gamer as soon as possible. But unlike the previous lap where Juice was alongside Gamer, having had a really good sector 2, Duncan's going to have to be behind him. And look at this, Juice is now shaping himself up clearly for a move on Casper. And what Juice will want to do is put those two medium runners that have been running a lot longer than he has behind him and try and build that gap so that by the time Duncan gets ahead of Gamer and Casper, he'll have well over a second in hand in terms of the DRS gap. As here we go, down the inside comes Juice, and into the lead he goes, and Gamer went really deep in turn 1, and unfortunately that allowed Duncan to get ahead of him, and we may see some team orders between the two Mercedes drivers here. And yeah, look at that, Casper smartly moving to the outside, but he may lose 2 places, unfortunately. Casper's going to have to try and fight this out. Through sector 1, they go side by side. This is pretty special. Oh, little barge of the sideboards there for Casper. He was able to get the team order done and still maintain P3. So that was really good teamwork for the Mercedes drivers.
Yes, smart driving there from Casper, former esports driver, of course, with the Renault Vitality team, showing some smarts there, getting his teammate up an extra position, despite the fact that Casper lost some. So on that lap, Hughes gaining the position, Duncan gaining 2, Casper down 2, Gamer down 1. Blizzard, for a bit, had actually got ahead of Jack Eater, but in the end, the Haas was able to hold on to that position, and this is going to start getting a bit frustrated, I think, for our championship leader, as Leo goes down the inside of Suso. Both Alpines, despite a good qualifying, out of the points once again. We'll have to wait and see whether they can worm their way back into that as the race comes on. When will Casper and Gamer come into the pits from those medium tyres? I imagine they're going to try and make a medium soft strategy work to be extremely quick at the end of the race, as Gamer's gone a bit deep into turn number 1 again, and this time it's Midnight who looks to take advantage in the Alpha Tauri. He's up into 4th.
Yeah, Midnight's having a really strong race so far. I think he's lacking maybe a tenth or 2 on Juice and Duncan, but he won't care about that, because at the moment he's in a net P3 once it's all plays out, because you'd imagine he's going to have quite a big advantage over Casper. I mean, Casper, I'm sure if Duncan and Casper are in communication with each other, which I know more than likely that they are, Casper will be trying to hold back the field a little bit just to give Duncan, you know, all the room he needs so he can just concentrate on chasing down Juiced.
Yes, certainly. We've seen the teamwork between the two Mercedes. I wonder whether we'll see any between Gamer and Will LG. He's now behind his teammate in 6th position on those 8-lap fresher tyres. Will Gamer jump out of the way and perhaps give his younger teammate, the young Englishman, a bit of a chance to battle some of those cars out ahead. Duncan, half a second behind, probably a bit too far behind to have a realistic challenge at this moment in a race, and we're in a very similar situation to where we were last season in PSGL between these two drivers. One driver that is definitely close enough to go for a move, though, is Jordan. DRS open, similar to what we saw Verstappen do yesterday on Bottas. The difference in the tyres is simply too much. This time it's mediums versus hards, and it is Jordan up into the top 10. A good recovery after that early incident, of course, where he had to pit for a new front wing and had the 5-second penalty.
Yeah, really good recovery from Jordan. I mean, that's getting that safety car when it happened, when Izmir crashed. I think that was really important for his race, because that's given him a chance to, you know, salvage some points here. Blizzard has overtaken Michi, so he's back up to P16. Still stuck behind Jaquita, unfortunately, just not able to get ahead of him. So at the moment, yeah, I mean, you look at the field, though, the field is still extremely close. So, you know, a safety car in the next 10 laps would just explode everything, because then you'd get a lot of people coming in for the softs, and then there'd be more changes of position. So, you know, Casper and Gamer, you know, they're in a good position at the moment, but the problem is, because the field is so close to each other, they're going to have a lot of time to make up when they come in for the softs. I think they're going to be trying to push to, you know, around lap 22, between lap 22 and 25, and then come in for the softs, because with the safety car, they should be able to push those mediums comfortably to around that time period.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the good news is, with the field being close, they'll have plenty of free air early on, but like you said, they're going to have to pass so many cars to get into the points. I'm not sure this strategy is going to work. To see how close things are, you can see Misha down in 17th place. He's only 8.5 seconds off the lead of this race on lap 16. This is something you see too often in modern Formula 1, I think it is fair to say, and you have got a 17-car DRS train at this moment in time, being led by Yost, still doing a good job, leading obviously from pole position, leading before the safety car came out, and now he's managed to work his way past Gamer and Casper. Gamer still hanging on there in 5th place, not letting Will by at the moment, so perhaps for two either aren't in communication, or Will hasn't suggested that idea to his older teammates. I'm sure if he does, it might definitely be worth swapping around and then seeing whether Will could challenge Midnight, having a good season so far as well. A bit famous, infamous you might say, for not scoring any points last season, despite showing some good pace, especially at the French Grand Prix. He's had 2 points finishes so far, and he is currently on for his best results in the PSGL top tier. Still though, an incredibly long way to go. 20 laps remaining. Now, as we are on board with Leo, he's on the back of his teammate here. Again, mediums versus hard tyres seem to be the only moves we're really seeing happening at this moment in time, and that is Leo up into 12th. Yeah,
and then Leo's next target will be to get ahead of Xander, who has kind of settled down. think the pace between himself and those ahead of him is starting to come back towards him. So, yeah, Xander is still someone to look out for. I think he's been quite wise, Xander, in that when he's been battling, he hasn't been, fighting too hard. He's been almost letting the cars go through because, okay, yes, you've got better pace on those mediums at the moment, but it's going to come back to me on these hards.
Yeah, certainly. I think Big O's has got the series mixed up. We haven't got a Formula V game quite yet, so we're not going to have any fan boost at this moment in time. I'm sure if they did, the Dutch drivers will be getting it quite comfortably, judging by how partisan but fair the crowd were at yesterday's race. Who's battling pretty close at the moment? We're seeing Xander on the back of this train. Jordan all over the back of Benjamin, the Ferrari in an Alfa Romeo sandwich at this moment in time, with George's just ahead. Perhaps unsurprisingly, if the race finished as it is now, championship leader would be Jost, as Blizzard picks up a 3-second time penalty. He got one last week and he got it removed. And again, with how close the field is, that could be very costly indeed, as Jack Eaters thinks about a late move down the inside of Suso, just ahead of Blizzard. In the end, not quite close enough to get that move done.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot of purple sector threes almost every lap because of these constant DRS trains. As Juice has actually set the fastest lap of the race very recently, so he's going to get a bonus point at the moment. But yeah, Blizzard, just to add insult to injury, getting the first time penalty in the race. He's having a nightmare of a race as it stands. He almost needs a random element like a safety car just to give him something to think about, because he's really relying on better tyre wear. But in the pack like this, where you're having to go offline a lot just to try and keep those tyres cool and sort of the dirty air effect, it's going to be a real struggle for him from this point on to the end of the race, and we're just about halfway distance now.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of these cars starting to get stuck in the dirty air. Gamer, he's dropped just outside of that 1 second window, and that was a bit of a bad run through turn number 13, so he's not going to get back within it. This is a perfect chance for his teammate to get ahead, but the fact that this move didn't happen earlier on has really cost them, because now Will's dropped outside of that DRS range. Midnight sets the fastest lap of the race. He's feeling pretty comfortable on those medium tyres, all over the back of Casper, who is doing a very decent job, you must say, to hang on to the back of Jost and Duncan at the moment.
It's literally the same three drivers who finished on the podium here last season, currently in the top three. Yeah, so these are obviously three drivers who love this circuit, but they're highly motivated to get on the podium today, all being Dutch, of course. But yeah, that's I think Casper's on a superb job. He started in P11 on the alternate strategy, and he's pretty much not lost anything really. Still in P3, but yeah, the big question is, when they pit, are they going to be able to regain that time back? I mean, they're going to be ludicrously faster than those who are going to be attempting to go on the mediums to the end. But that's if the medium runners who pitted off the softs do go to the end, because they've got a long way to go. I mean, 21 laps, that is something you do see at this track, but they're going to be going quite a way beyond that.
Yeah, they are. I'm just going to try and check on the TAS system at this moment in time. Duncan's tyre wear, 27% on that front left tyre after, 11 laps? So it's definitely doable. It is definitely, looks like he's going to be around 26, 27 laps is where you're going to be at a puncture risk, because now that Will LG's got some free air, he sets the fastest lap of the race and gets himself back within DRS range. It's going to be one of those races where if one driver gets a puncture, especially near the front, it is going to be extremely cruel, and with how close things are, extremely costly.
Yeah, and because of the nature of this track, where you get pretty much no breather except for the main straight, you can't. None of these drivers are going to be able to really slow down and sort of tyre manage. They're going to have to be pushing like this all the way to the end.
Yeah, they're really having to go for it at the moment. You can't afford to take any time off, just with how close the battles are. We're on board with Benjamin, who's on the back of Georges, who's on the back of Fusilo, who's on the back of Gamer, who's on the back of Will, so on and so forth. You get the idea at the moment with how close things are at the moment. And perhaps this is why drivers can't feel like they can throw one up the inside of turn one, because they know if they go a bit too deep, you've got the car behind coming through as well, and your net gain is absolutely nothing, and you've just worn out your tyres ever so slightly with the lock-up and maybe taking the corner at a suboptimal line. So this closer, so though it's fantastic for us in terms of we don't know who's going to be the fastest, we might not know who's going to win this race, it doesn't mean we're seeing the most on-track action at the moment, as Georges almost pushes Fusilio round turn number 1. We are on to lap 21 of this race now, just 16 more remaining, not too far away surely before we see Casper and Gamer come into the pits and put on that set of the soft tyres. They are going to be a long way down the field. It's going to be a tough job for either of them, I think, to get back into the points.
Yeah, I mean, the safety car did kind of compromise their strategy in a way because it just closed everyone up like this, allowing them to get that pre-pit stop out of the way. But, you know, they will be far quicker than those other drivers. So that's the thing that will hopefully give them a bit of hope once they come in. I think they're, you know, maybe 3 or 4 laps away from pitting. They might opt to come in a little bit earlier. But, you know, if it was me, I'd like to go a little bit longer just to maximize the performance so I don't have to worry at all about the softs going off. But yeah, the tyre wear seems to be pretty stable for the leaders. So yeah, they are going to be definitely borderline when they reach the end. But yeah, it's certainly doable from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, certainly. Leo on the back of Xander, almost losing it a tiny bit in the dirty air. And you can see, even though Xander's got that red light flashing on the back, suggesting he is less than 10% ERS, Leo just can't quite close up. Jaquita down the inside of Suso finally gets that move done. Suso was the only driver to have dropped outside of that DRS train last time around, and straight away Jaquita pounces in the halves. 14th position for him, and Blizzard still not able to follow through at this moment in time. He's using some ERS. He's going to try and go for it down the inside through turn number 5. Is Suso going to be able to fight back? No, realises he has to give up. That was brave from Blizzard, but that's the kind of move he's going to have to pull off if he wants to have any chance of getting points. Our championship leader worked his way up into 15th.
Well, fair play to Suso. Very respectful to Blizzard. Blizzard, you know, he felt like, yeah, I've really got to try and get a move on. It's lap 22 now. I haven't got that much time to start getting these moves done. Now he's ahead of him. I mean, he feels like he's been stuck behind Jaquita the whole lap. He's out of DRS, Jaquita, at the moment. So I think Blizzard thinking, well, I think that's the one to keep an eye on. Blizzard may only get one chance to get ahead of Jaquita the way this is going.
Yeah, I think Jaquita's, you can see there, he's pretty much run out of side of ERS. He realises how powerful the DRS here, so he's using pretty much every single part of it he can. As Mish has had a spin, he's got it wrong coming through the penultimate corner. Leo's managed to work his way past Xander, so there's proof the mediums are still working well. 13 lap old mediums, better than 14 lap old hard tyres at this point in the race. Perhaps this was the wrong strategy from Xander, M. Short, Suso, Mish and Fede as well. They do look to be struggling on the hards at the moment. Could this be the first time this season that both Blizzard and Xander have fallen outside the points at the end of the race? They are the only two drivers who have scored points in every single race so far. We have now got a bit of a gap appearing between the top 4. Will LG 1.5 seconds behind as Midnight takes a very interesting line through turn number 10 there, definitely cooking the tyres a slight bit, and now he's dropped more than a second behind Casper. Perhaps being stuck in the dirty air just starting to cause a few of these guys problems.
Yeah, and also think just the pure intensity of this race, you know, lap after lap with virtually little breaks. It's very similar to Suzuka in that respect. You know, Suzuka has lots of twisty, fast corners like this and then a very short straight. So it's not too far off that sort of intensity where you just don't get a break for your hands, especially those on the wheels. So mistakes are definitely starting to creep in here.
Yeah, and as I was saying, the top 4 had been able to get away. That's now pretty much allowed the top 3 to get away, which will become the top 2 when Casper comes into the pit. I was thinking, because of that safety car, it would probably be lap 23 the earliest. We are already on to lap 24, so perhaps 1 or 2 more at the moment. And, well, Casper's nowhere near getting a puncture. It says Gamer's on 72% on his front left, perhaps explaining why he's been struggling with the pace a bit more than his Mercedes friend, who the only 2 drivers not to come into the pits under that safety car. So I think we'll be definitely seeing Gamer coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Casper might decide it's worth going an extra lap longer, or might come in now just because of how powerful the undercut is going to be. Here we are on board with Fusilo in 7th place at this moment in time, and you can see just can't quite get it off close enough to Gamer to get that move done. Jordan almost pushing Benjamin round turn number 11 there. The gap doesn't open up through turn 12. Benjamin lighting up the rear tyres on the throttle though as we come into 13 and 14. This DRS train continues unabated almost at the front of the field. Benjamin taps the wall though, coming out of the final corner, and he has to come into the pits. Casper is in as well. Benjamin gets a 5-second speeding penalty and retires from the race, but I imagine that was similar to what we saw Visma do early on, what caused his retirement, just a lot less dramatic.
Yeah, must have damaged the wing and thought it wasn't worth carrying on. So yeah, the second retirement of the race. Casper's in. He dropped out of DRS the top 2, so yeah, that was a perfect chance to come in there. Wasn't under pressure behind, so yeah, that was a spot-on decision to come in then. There was no point going an extra lap. Gamer actually chose to. Yeah, Will's now dropped 2 seconds away from Midnight, and Midnight himself is 2 seconds away. So the pace of Juice and Duncan that bit more consistent. That's why they're getting away. So Casper coming out well down the order in P15, nearly 6 seconds behind Suso. So let's keep an eye on Casper because his pace is going to be absolutely mighty. But whether I think if he gets to the back of cars, he's going to fly past him because his grip's going to be so much better. Particularly for the likes of Suso, Blizzard, and Jakita, who won't have much to defend with. But yeah, I think unfortunately the safety car kind of ruined their alternate strategy in a way because it's left them with too much to do with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, and that's how good the mediums are still. Yo sets the fastest lap of the race. I think we'll see Casper or Mies take that fairly soon. Gamer comes into the pits. Jordan also managed to get a move done on his teammate for tonight, George's as well. So that is now Jordan up into 6th position, promoting a few more drivers up the order with a pit stop. Both Alpines now into the points. Zander there in 9th. Will they stay there once we see Casper and Gamer come out though on their fresh set of soft tyres? How fast will they be able to go? Here we are on board with the championship leader. He's going to try it again at this part of the circuit, down the inside into turn number 7. Is it going to work out unless you are alongside the car in front, as we have got a yellow flag showing there on screen. Not quite sure who that is for. I'm not sure if that's Asacomb's desynced cars, just causing a slight bit of trouble. Back towards the lead of this race though. Duncan 0.6 of a second behind Joost, both of them on full ERS, which means they're pretty much in the same position. It's going to be very tough, judging by what we've seen so far, for Duncan to make a move.
Wait a minute. There's full course yellow, sector 1, sector 2, and sector 3. Is that a safety car? It's yellows everywhere on the track on my screen. Is that the same for you?
It is, but they're definitely not going at any safety car pace. We've definitely not seen any VSC message enabled. I'm just going to see if I pause the game and unpause it, whether it was worth a shot. It did not get rid of them. Casper sets the fastest lap of the race, but yeah, I wonder if some of the desync issues, as it says on my screen, Asacomb's in the pit, but he's clearly driving around on the circuit. So update 1.09 seems to be working its magic at this moment in time, and if the drivers are seeing this, of course, and I'm going to take a bet that they are, if we both are, this is absolutely killing any chance for them to get any overtakes done, because they will get a 5-second penalty.
Yes, fortunately, we may have had some drunk race control have left the yellow flags on all day long, which would be a real shame because this obviously wasn't an issue on previous version, but we will see. It could be a virtual safety car that we can't see. Hopefully this will clear, so we'll just have to, I mean, they're still going at racing speed, so I don't think it's a virtual safety car, but yeah, I think it's something to do with Asacomb's desynced car. He has been sort of desynced almost the whole time. He says he's in the pit again, but he's clearly out on track. So I have no idea where his Ferrari is. But yeah, at the moment, Juice, Duncan, all over the back of each other. I mean, they've been the class of the field. So as it stands, Juice and Duncan are going to finish as they are, but we're just going to have to wait and see if this clears up at all.
I mean, I certainly hope it does. I want to see some action at this point in the race, but yeah, we are under yellow flags at the moment. I'm not sure whether drivers aren't overtaking because they just can't. Wouldn't be too surprising around this, judging by how things we've seen, or whether they are seeing the yellow flags as well. I wager to bet it's a little bit of one and a little bit of the other at this moment in time. Who this is really costing, obviously, is Casper and Gamer, because they're going to be flying around on their sets of soft tyres, hoping to try and work their way up through the field, and they've got a full course yellow that isn't a VSC and isn't a safety car.
I know. It's extraordinary. I think the last time I was involved in a race like this was back on F1 2017. One of the commentaries I did there. And yeah, we had a similar situation quite early in the life of the game. And yeah, something like this happening, if this is indeed not just a visual glitch for us, if it's affecting the drivers as well, it's pretty inexcusable given that the game's been out quite a long time now.
Disappointed but not surprised. I think it's summing up my emotions about this at this moment in time. We are now on to lap 29 of the race. At least unlike qualifying, we can still see the important stuff that we need to in terms of how long is left. On board with Duncan, 4/10 of a second behind Joost. Midnight has really fallen off these guys since that moment, but even if they were able to put him under pressure, Will's just not been able to get close enough.
Yeah, I think Fusilo's had a really solid race actually. Just trying to see what his best result of the season so far was. Yeah, he had a 4th place in the opening round of Bahrain, 2 non-scores after that, a fastest lap last week at Belgium. Of course, he had that incident in qualifying where he blocked someone, I believe, which was unfortunate. But yeah, very solid race from Fusilo. I'd say his best race of the season so far.
Now, I know last week we promised that we wouldn't see anything as farcical as the Belgian Grand Prix. I don't think this is quite at that level, but I am starting to get worried that this is pretty much it for the rest of this race now. We're on to lap 29. The 2 leaders are on to lap 29 anyway now. Will is breaking that toe from Fusillo, but I'm going to be perfectly honest, I don't think there's much need to at the moment. Leo really close to the back of George's. Can't get any move done. I think the only way we're going to see any overtakes at the moment is mistakes or punctures, which is of course still something that might still happen around here. We've seen a few drivers spin, not as many in the race as we did in qualifying, to be perfectly fair, but we have seen the odd little mistake. I think both Aston Martins have had a few pirouettes in this race, and there is still that risk of the punctures, as we are going to check what the tyre wear is for some of the lead cars. One driver who might be worried if it is accurate is Midnight, showing 66% on that front left tyre, and he's still got 7 laps to go. No wonder his pace has dropped off.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice his lap times had really dropped off in the last 3 or 4 laps, and that would explain it. We are getting quite a few gaps now. Casper is obviously rapidly catching, for nothing really if he gets to the back of the field, which is a real shame for him. I mean, it's always going to be difficult for him anyway to sort of make up any places without this problem. But yeah, no chance, because that would have been quite entertaining, seeing him try to carve his way back into maybe the final championship point. But yeah, Xander's now found himself back into P9 after all those pit stops, so he's on to score points and be the only driver who scored points in every round, because Blizzard, of course, is currently in P12.
Yeah, certainly, and Xander, another one perhaps losing out on this. Those hard tyres will be starting to come into their own, you would suspect. He was really close to the back of Leo last time around, but he's not able to do anything. We have got 6 laps to go at the Dutch procession, I think we can call it now. I'm not sure you can call it a Grand Prix anymore. The drivers are just, they're still driving incredibly fast, it must be said, but they are completely unable to get any moves done at this moment in time. It is just, will the tyres last out for some of these drivers? Midnight being the main one, and it would be cruel, given the pace that he has shown in this race, if he couldn't quite get those tyres to last until the end of this race. Fede, he becomes a driver to get a 3-second time penalty, as Midnight really does take those curves. We've only seen 2 penalties, and I think that just says a lot about the old school nature of this track. There we go, you've got grass either side, gravel on the exit of turn number 13. Most of the places here, you put a wheel over that white line, you're going to have a lot less traction than you would ideally like.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does make a difference, tracks like this. Just puts that little bit of doubt in your mind. Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, Mark. Fusillo was trying to go round the outside of Will LG there. I think some of these drivers might not be thinking, let's just go for it. If we can't take the 5-second penalty, it's going to get removed at the end of the race, hopefully. So Fusillo definitely tried it there on Will.
It's a good point, to be honest. Yeah, I would be in the same boat. They might as well go for it. Yeah, Will LG just got a 5-second penalty. So yeah, all of these penalties will get removed unless, of course, it's something really stupid. But yeah, let's see some racing, guys. Screw the rules, as one would say at this point. But yeah, Fusillo trying to get a move done on Will LG, which would match his best season result, which was at Bahrain, which was a 4 place, as we mentioned earlier. Jordan Ryan, I think, Luke, the pennies dropped that this problem's not going to clear. So this is obviously a sign that it's not just something we're seeing. It's obviously on track as well. So I think we're about to get some racing in the final lap.
Hey! We've got a green flag. Asa Combs left the session. I did tag him on Twitter and Discord, to be fair, to try and get a message across. He has left the session, and that has cleared for green flag. So we're back underway once again, and not a moment too soon for some of these drivers. I'm sure they're thinking. Fusillo on the back of Will. He's got Jordan pretty close to him as well. M short all over the back of Xander. Now they're all waking up. We've got a 4-lap sprint race here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and Casper's just caught the back. Oh no, virtual safety car, as if we didn't have enough yellow running. I think Asacomb's car has just retired, so hopefully this VSC won't last long, but this is just close it up. Tell you what, this is going to help Midnight just a little bit. He's now got 73% on the front left and 65 on the front right. He's going to be crawling to the line, and I think his chances of, well, Will LG picks, oh yeah, he'll get that penalty removed, of course, that 5 seconds. So yeah, Midnight, he's going to be having a mighty battle on his hands now to hold on to that final position, because his tyre wear has been nowhere near as good as the front 2.
I mean, hopefully this virtual safety car ends anytime soon. Asacomb's car has retired. I believe it did actually retire in the pits. I'm surprised it did cause Of course, he may have thought it was in the pits, and the game might have thought it's something completely different. We are learning that at this moment in time, and we do apologise for that, but Midnight, understandably,
Look at this queue. Look at this queue. It's like Midnight's like a, his own safety car. They're all so close to each other. I mean, if we go back to green flag right now, there's going to be a bunch of changes of position, but I think it's going to carry on at least a little bit longer. But hopefully we go green again. But they might have to think, okay, we'll have to go racing again. 5 seconds.
Jack Easter's got a 5-second penalty for collision with M Short, and I think Jordan almost went into the back of Fusilo there as the drivers were getting caught out. Blizzard now makes a move on Jack Eater. Leo makes a move on George's, and it's all starting to kick off all of a sudden.
Yeah, Midnight's got LG right on the back of him. Fusilo, Jordan going very close there. And there was a bit of argy-bargy through turn 3. Georges and Leo side by side for a second, and now they're ghosting within each other. And there could be some overtakes with ghosting there. Look at that, George is trying to take both of them with the ghosting there. So, yeah, it's very Casper the unfriendly ghost out there, because George is using that system to his advantage, but Leo's actually regained the P6. And up ahead, Fusilo right on the back of LG, but yeah, Midnight desperately struggling. He desperately needs the checkered flag, but he's still got another 2 laps to go. His tyres are screaming in agony right now.
Yeah, they are. Jack Eater has got some damage on his car, so he's going to be a long way down. I'll be very surprised if Jordan hasn't. It doesn't say it has on the TAS system. It's all contact between Blizzard and Jordan there. Blizzard manages to get the move done, and that's another few places lost for CRG. Blizzard has come, well, for Jordan, Blizzard's come alive towards the end of this race. Suso's managed to get ahead of him.
Oh, Casper and Blizzard have hit each other. Oh no, they went 3 wide momentarily, but the gap closed up and Casper's been forced off. Blizzard has got damage as well. Oh dear. So Casper's attempts to regain those positions. So Gamers now in P11. Blizzard has retired from the race. The championship leader is out of the race and he's going to lose his championship lead. And now our attention goes to Duncan still on the back of him. He's got 60% ERS. Can he launch an attack on Juice as we enter the final lap?
I'm going to be honest, I took a punt on which 3 wide battle you were going for there, because I think Fusilo, Will and Leo were pretty close to it as well, and unfortunately I picked the wrong one. Blizzard out of the race, Casper with damage. We are almost onto the final lap of the race, so can Duncan do anything? He's using all his ERS at the moment. Yost has got a tiny bit more as well, and he's going to go defensive ever so slightly. Duncan sets the fastest lap of the race. That's going to be a bonus point. Can't quite get close enough. Can he get the move done further down? As we go to this battle now for the final podium position, it is Midnight Will and Fusilo. Fusilo's got a fantastic exit here. He's got a bit more ERS than Will. He's going to try and go round the outside into turn number 3. Can't quite make that done. Gamer gets
that.
No. Yeah,
another glitch. Oh. Well, he was outside the points anyway, so I guess it's not too bad, but even so, that's ridiculous. But yeah, Duncan's still on the back. It's been an absolutely amazing battle between Deuce and Duncan. Their consistency, their pace, you know, given how old their tyres are, it's been remarkable. But yeah, Midnight's still hanging on. He's got 81% wear on the front left. I mean, I don't know how he's doing it. He's in the lap of the gods right now. So Will LG and Fusilo, they may still get a chance on the podium, but Midnight is hanging on for by far his best option. Oh, he's struggling to get round to turn 8. Just literally nothing left in those front tyres, as well as the front 2 round the final corner.
Yeah, they do indeed, and it is going to be a second win this season for VSR Yost. He's going to take the championship lead. It is a win for Yost. Duncan gets his best result of the season in second place. Midnight's just got one more right-hander to go, and that front left tyre is going to be crying enough, and it looks like he's going to make it. Midnight takes a podium here. A good result for him in the Alpha Tauri. Will drops down to 9th place. He will get that penalty removed, so he will finish in 4th. Fusilo is 5th, Leo 6th, George is 7th, Xander in 8th, M Short 9th. Suso will pick up the final point in the end in 10th place. Casper didn't work out well for those who went for the soft tyres for different reasons. He had that collision with Blizzard, of course. We saw Gamer get disqualified unfairly from the race. Who knows whether he'd have caught up to things. Jordan pitted for fresh tyres at the end. He gets home in 12th position. Jack Eater in 13th. Fede will be 14th. His teammate Mish has already crossed the line in 15th. But it is Yost, our first double winner of the season, and he takes the championship lead. A fantastic win from pole position and dealt with pretty much everything Duncan, and let's be perfectly honest, the game and other drivers' incidents could have thrown at him.
Yes, I mean, really dealt with the pressure from Duncan. Once again, these two have been absolute maestros as Zandvoort, just as they were last season. But this time, it is Juice who takes the victory, having finished P2 here last season. But I think, Duncan will be delighted with that, because that's really sort of doubled his points tally. So he's now sort of up there in the title fight. But yeah, Juice now, the championship leader, he'll be heading up to, I believe that would be 40 points. So that will give him a significant advantage at the top of the standings at this early stage.
Yeah, it will. I'm just trying to work things out. I think actually Blizzard would still be in second place, given how we've not really seen massive consistency from drivers at the moment. George's would be up there as well, of course. I think third place in the championship perhaps now for him. We'll try and work that out in a bit, but it is a Dutch, I should say. 1-2, Duncan is involved in that, but unlike last season, he is in second. Joost takes the victory. Midnight. It was this race where he got a fantastic result last season, and it sort of kick-started his, could his first podium do that for him this time around? Only 1 point before this race. He comes home in third. Fusilo is fourth. Alpine get their first points of the season with Leo in fifth. M-Short got 8 for them. Georges and Zander were in between. Suso was 9th. Will is showing us 10th place. I am 99% certain he'll get that penalty removed and in the end claim his best result in PSGL of 4th. Casper missing out in 11th. That alternate strategy and the contact not working out in the end. Would it have been different if it wasn't for the yellow flags? Jordan is 12th. Chiquita, Fede and Mish were the final finishers. Blizzard retired out on track near the end, and Benjamin and Asacombe also retiring from the race. Isma was the first retirement, and Gamer with that unfortunate disqualification. That we thought we were going to get an anticlimactic end to the race. Thankfully, though, in the end, once we did get the green flag, we had 4 or 5 laps of absolutely brilliant action.
Yes, we did. I mean, I think we were under no illusions going into this race, what kind of race we were going to see, and it pretty much played out as we expected. Qualifying was super important, and it proved to be that way once again. You call this, Budapest on steroids. That's what this track is like. It's so narrow, very difficult to overtake. But, Juice and Duncan and Midnight in particular did superb jobs in qualifying, and they were able to do that. I think, Midnight, I think he'll be counting his lucky stars. He was able to get that car home, because he must have been probably, I would say if he'd had gone another lap, I think he would have lost the car completely to a puncher for sure. But I'm pleased with Midnight, because he's had a lot of misfortune, unforced errors, just a struggle to start the season. But he's got his season started tonight, and that could build it. Still a lot of races to go, and who knows, he could put on a real charge from here.
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to be honest. I do think it was that VSC that perhaps saved Midnight. What we saw, that quite a long VSC, 1 and a bit laps under yellow flag conditions where they were actually driving around at yellow flag pace, definitely can't have harmed his chances of getting towards the end of the race, and maybe that was that bit of luck that he needed.
Yes, thinking about that VSC, which probably shouldn't have come out, because I think Ascombe was literally retiring in the pits, although he was obviously out of sync. But that was, that made the difference ultimately for him. We've got to mention Zander as well. He scored points again, 4 races in a row. He scored, the reigning F2 champion. So he's nestling himself nicely into this division slowly, because that was his best finish of the season. I do believe, equaling actually to finish in 8th, because obviously, we have to mention Will, don't we? He finished 4th today. That's his best result in PSGL history in his career. And he'll get that penalty removed for sure. But superb drive from Will LG.
Yeah, certainly. He, like you said, did a fantastic job. Bit unlucky with that penalty, obviously. Fusilo was the one who initially meant for the move, and I think it was him trying to overtake back that ended up causing that penalty. But I'm sure the drivers have never really driven in a race quite like that. And shall we get the interviews going, and perhaps we'll go in reverse order again. Let's start with the man who finished in 3rd place. It is CRG Midnight. Mark, over to you.
Well, welcome to the post-race interview for the PSGL F1 Dutch Grand Prix, and we are joined by the driver who finished P3 for AlphaTauri, and it is Midnight, who, after having 3 very difficult races to start the season, it has finally come happy for you tonight, Midnight. P3, what are your initial feelings on your first podium of the season?
I'm happy to get the podium, but I'm still quite disappointed about the first 3 races, because right now I'm not sitting pretty in the championship. But yes, I think this will be a first building block on trying to get back up the order in the championship.
Now, I think there's only one other sort of major question I'm going to ask you outside of finishing P3. So how much of it was a struggle late on because your tyre wear was significant, shall we say? And were you worried at all that the tyres were about to scream, particularly the fronts?
Yeah. From lap 25 or so, I kind of realized that I had a lot of tire wear than I thought I did, and it was around lap 27, 28. I got the tire indicator saying I was on 60%. So I was losing so much. I was losing like seconds to the two drivers ahead, Duncan and Juice. And then yeah, the tires were so like it was like 3% a lap I was gaining, and I'm the final banking. I'm screaming for the tires to just hold on.
Yeah, I mean, some would say that unexpected VSE late on may have helped you over compliant. Now we go to Italy next week, of course. So what confidence can you take for that P3? You know, if you kind of feel like your season has finally started tonight with that P3, is that a track that's going to be quite strong for you?
I don't know. I've never driven Italy this game, so I'm just kind of just gonna practice this week and just see how the pace is. But normally I'm all right at Italy. It's not anything stand out. Like I love Italy or whatever, or hate it. Just there or thereabouts. So we'll see. We'll practice and we'll give it our best shot.
Well, thanks, Midnight. Congratulations on your P3, and I'm sure we'll see you in here again later in the season.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, and next up in the for the commentary interviews, we're going to bring in the man who won this race last season, second this time around. It is VSR Duncan, his second podium of the season.
Yes, hello, Duncan. Your season seems to be coming in 2x2. You either don't score or finish on the podium. So consistency seems to just be your only issue at the moment. But nonetheless, a great result, which puts you sort of firmly up the table and into championship contention. So after that result, especially at your home Grand Prix, you must be pretty satisfied.
Apologies, it does look like we
always get one. We always get one.
There's always one. We'll leave Duncan to perhaps try and sort those issues out and bring in our race winner for the second time this season, VSR Joost.
Yes, we will try and get back to Joost. Now, Joost, second victory of the season at your home Grand Prix. You just missed out on your home victory in season 28, and this time you've got it, and you are now the championship leader of PSGL F1 on PS4. What are your feelings on that?
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the result. And what you say about the previous season, I think we got the exact the same thing this season with Duncan. We were battling for the win again. And but I think in practice we already knew our pace was really strong, and it was between us to battle it out.
So, taking the lead of the championship, and you're going into Italy on the back of 2 victories. You must be pretty happy being in the lead in the championship at this stage. With the tracks that are coming up, we'll be finishing in Austria at the halfway point of the season. Are you confident to get similar results?
Italy is not my favorite track, but Britain is, I think, one of my best tracks. So I think I have to do it in Britain. Italy, I really don't like that track, but overall, it's not bad.
Fantastic. Well, massive congratulations on your second win of the season and taking the lead of the championship. We will speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations to Joost on taking the win, and second time lucky perhaps for the man who finished in second place. Duncan, can you hear us? Doesn't seem like we are able to get hold of Duncan, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to see perhaps what his thoughts were about this race, because we saw so close to the back of Joost for quite a long time, and that yellow flag period, again, another one of the drivers that it might have cost quite massively.
Yeah, it looked like Juice had a really well balanced car, particularly for sector 3, just able time and time again to get really good exits. It just gave Duncan no opportunity really to get the overtake done. But I think Duncan will be pretty happy with that P2, because he didn't score at Bahrain, he scored at France, didn't score at Belgium, As I tried to say to him, it's just consistency that Duncan's missing at the moment. If he can start putting results like this together every week, then he'll be challenging Blizzard and Juiced for this championship, because it just seems to me, looking at qualifying at least, it seems like Juiced, Duncan, and Blizzard have the the fastest outright pace. Then there's a couple of drivers like George's who are not too far behind him on pace, but those three, they seem to be the ones that have that little bit of an edge at the moment. But yeah, we have to talk about Blizzard. He had a day to forget all round, really. I mean, if he was going for the alternative strategy, that didn't work out because he ended up in 16th in the mid pack. Just wasn't able to make real progress even with the safety car. And then just caught up in sort of little incidents, then a big one with Casper late on. And yeah, it was just a real day to forget at the office for Blizzard. But I think he's got a decent record at Italy, so I think he'll come back very strongly next time, as Duncan has returned to the podium. Can you hear us, Duncan?
Yes, I can.
Hooray! Hello.
Really.
So as I alluded to earlier, he starts the season with no points, then you got a podium, then 0 again, and then second place again today. So consistency seems to be your only issue at the moment in terms of the results. But yes, despite the fact you weren't able to repeat the victory you had here season 28, you should be very satisfied with the result today, because you're now sort of quite up in the table in the top 5 of the championship, and certainly in the title fight now.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really good race. Of course, I know from previous season, the pace is quite good around this track.
Seem to have lost you there. Oh, there you go. went off there for a second. Well, yeah, I certainly agree. I mean, I'd say that was your best performance of the season so far. Very consistent pace. I mean, compared to the rest of the field, you and Juice just charged away in the end. I know Midnight had issues with his tyres, but even so, you had similar in terms of laps on the tyres, and you were able to keep that pace so consistent. So that's certainly going to give the rest of the field something to think about as we go on. We go into Italy next week, of course, Duncan. Is that a track that sort of plays to your strengths in your view?
I would say it's somewhere in the middle, like the preferences of tracks. I haven't really done it this game so far, so yeah, we'll see.
Well, congratulations on your P2, Duncan, and we will speak to you soon.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks to Duncan and Houston Midnight as well for joining us. We were just talking about Blizzard there. Obviously, he went for that alternate strategy in qualifying, Mark. Didn't quite work out for him, and then just a victim of the DRS train, and perhaps a bit of frustration getting that 3-second time penalty and being stuck behind Jack Eater for so long maybe led to a bit of that incident with Casper. But it's first real fallibility. We started seeing it last time out, obviously with that spin at Belgium, but so many drivers made the mistakes there. France wasn't his fault. The pace that he's had this season, he must be gutted not to be leading the championship. Never mind, before this race, he wasn't leading it by as much as he should be. Now he's not leading it at all. I think he's about 11 points off the lead now.
Yeah, but, he's experienced enough. Sometimes you get an off day like this, and I'm sure he'll just think, okay, we'll just move on from this one and get ready for Italy, a track he's had great success at in the past. A very different track, of course, to Zandvoort. I think we're going to see a lot more overtaking there. DRS trains, of course, will be quite heavy early on. It's a track where you have to run as little downforce as possible. It is the fastest track on the calendar. It's not called the Temple Speed for no reason. We're going to see some high speed, maybe 2, maybe 3 wide on the main straight. So I'm looking forward to that one. Usually the first stint is kind of Bahrain-like in that everyone's sort of close to each other, but then as the strategies play out, you get a ton of action in the final part of it. So it's definitely one you don't want to miss.
Yeah, certainly. Make sure to be here next week again at 8 p.m. on the Monday for the Italian Grand Prix. Plenty of PSGL action before that. The majority of it is at Italy. You'll have the lower PS tiers on Sunday and the Thursday. That is just coming up. The lower PC tiers will be on the Wednesday. I believe the F4 tier from the PC is going to be streamed for the first time, and we're going to have some more PC F1 action. If BT behaves itself, then George Morgan should be back this week alongside Jack Cadan for the Italian Grand Prix. Wait and see how that goes. Can Jarno Opmeer extend his lead in the championship after scoring no points last time out? And there is the qualifying round for the PSGL VRT Team Cup as well around Suzuka on Friday night. James Head and Aidan Carter will be taking you through the action on that one. It's pretty much it then for myself and Mark. Thank you to all the drivers for what was a fantastic race. Joost and Duncan and Midnight for joining us in the interviews. Thanks to Mark for joining me in the commentary box, and thanks so much for you guys for watching as well. We will be back next week, Monday, 8 p.m. at the Temple of Speed. Joost has taken the championship lead for the first time this season. Can Blizzard fight back next time around, or will Joost make it 3 wins out of the first 5 races? You'll have to tune in to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues to find out. Thank you once again, and goodbye.